Hi,
Hello,
Dr. Eddie.
how are you, Tammy? It's so good to see you.
Great to see you too. So,
Good. And
what you got
everyone,
for us for October?
oh yes, today we're going to talk about what do you do after you make a stupid decision. And not only that, we're also going to be talking about several other subjects along the way. You know, I like to try to mix things up and I don't try to stay just on one singular topic. So anyway, it's good to have you all here again, another episode of Getting to the Other Side. I hope that, you know, you're finding some peace in your life and some comfort despite whatever the circumstances are that you are dealing with today. So yeah, so what do we do when, you know, somebody who, you know, the betrayer, you know, makes a stupid decision, like you don't call when you're going to be late. Okay, that is a stupid decision. You know, you text a former female or male coworker and you look at it and just say, oh, it's just a friend, without talking to your spouse or partner to say, hey, this is somebody I know and they reached out to me. You know, you run an errand but the store that you went to doesn't have what you need. So therefore you head to another store and then you wind up back home like 45 minutes later than you should have been. And you haven't called at all about it. Another stupid decision. Oh, the one that we've talked about before in the past is, you know, there's a triggering episode that's going on and you start explaining how they have a fact wrong. No, you don't understand. No, that's not right. You know, and a very, very stupid decision. Or perhaps maybe what you've done is you start to squirrel some money away because you want to surprise your partner with a trip. You know, it's really interesting. I always tell folks that during this season, surprises are off the table. Surprises are not a good thing at all. No one wants to be surprised. So again, another very stupid decision. So what do we do when this happens? Because again, in many cases, what it is another step backwards in what we've had. Well, first and foremost, we need to own it. And that I see as a major problem. Something so simple as, you know what, you're right. You're right, I should have, and I didn't. But instead, it was, you know, we minimize, you know, it's really not a big deal. Or we'll rationalize. Yeah, but see, that I know we needed to get away. I know you needed to get away, and I just want to do something, you know. Or we're going to sit there and explain. No, but you don't understand. You know, the store didn't have it, so I had to go, you know, over there. And yes, it was a lot longer. It took me out of my way, and I hit all this traffic, and none of it works. Just own it. I messed up. I made a mistake. But again, we are trying to avoid the fact that we're in trouble. I don't want to be in trouble. So I will come up with, again, whatever I need to, minimizing, rationalizing, explaining, to try to see if I can persuade you to look at the situation differently. There should be no persuading in those circumstances. That is not what we're trying to do. All we need to do, again, is own it. The second thing you need to do then is to determine, you know, how did you allow yourself to have this lapse in judgment? Because that's what it basically is. You know, I played around with the idea of, maybe I was going to call it stupid decision, maybe, you know, unfortunate decision. And then I said, no, let me just slap them a little bit. But you know, the idea of a lapse in judgment, Tammy over here laughing, a lapse in judgment that's going on. Where did you go wrong? What was it that happened? And what you're going to find that, you know, in most cases, going to be either one, you lost focus. Okay, you just wasn't thinking. Oh, well, that's great. You know what that sounds a lot like? That sounds like addictive behaviors. Sounds a lot like addictive behaviors. And that's why when a spouse will say to somebody when they're in the midst of the triggering episode and say, it's like you're still, acting out, you're still being, that addictive behavior still has a grip on you. And you're like, what? No, what, are you kidding me? I haven't done that in how long? It's been 18 months, 2 years, 5 years, whatever. No. But the pattern looks the same. And if the pattern looks the same, what that's going to do is going to generate within those who've been betrayed, this sense of fear, concern, worry. You're exhibiting similar behaviors that you did when you were acting out. When you said, and you tell me I've lost focus. The other thing that may be is the fact that you thought it wasn't important. You know what? No, why pull over and call? I'll be home in another 20 minutes. It's not a big deal. It's not important. Everything's important. And it is not, or I should say this way, you would be well advised to not make that determination by yourself that this is not important. Instead, go to the source and find out. Go back to the thing that I tell almost all men when I work with them. How will this action or inaction impact my, put the name in, spouse, okay, or name? How will it impact who? Put it in there. How will that impact? See, what you're doing is on your own, you're making that decision. She or he is not going to think it's important. Just let it go. The other thing that could be happening here when you allow that lapse of judgment is the idea that, well, I thought what I was doing would be appreciated. And again, now we're going back to the idea of maybe perhaps surprises that are happening. Well, she'll appreciate that. He'll appreciate that. No, because especially if they find out before you get to launch your surprise, which happens so often. I wish it didn't. I've seen it though. And now it's like all of a sudden you have to sit here and explain why is this going on behind the scenes, and you kept it from me. Because what are we doing again? We are mimicking addictive behaviors. I'm not sharing. I'm not being transparent. You could sit there and you could say, well, I'm not lying. I'm being honest about things. I'm not telling a lie. No, you're not. You're right. You're not lying, but you are not transparent. Transparency, as all of you, I hope, know by now, is critical for recovery. And if we don't have it, if those who've been betrayed do not feel, oh, you are being transparent with me, as well as being honest, again, the wheels spin. And there's nothing good in the spinning. There's nothing good that is being processed in the way of what is before me right now. What am I confronted with? Because they're going to go to the area where it's like, this is not a good thing. It's not a good thing. So again, then the last thing you want to do, so you figured out what is that lapse of judgment, and then okay, so what have you learned? And this is probably like one of the most frustrating aspects of, working in the field and being a counselor. And, you walk people through, we don't just show people what they should do. What we also do is try to determine why they struggle to do it. That's more important. If I can't educate you to understand why you can't do something, why you can't be truthful, which again, all goes back to the idea of these coping strategies that you developed at a very young age that you still are using now. If I can't do that, that doesn't matter how many tools are given, you're not going to be able to implement those. So again, the idea of what did you learn from this experience? I had a couple the other day I was talking to, and and he telling me that, yes, forgive. Oh yeah, I know not to complain. I know not to be defensive. I know that I have to validate. And she's making comments and, bringing up something that she sees as wrong. And first words out of his mouth, that's not right. No, that's wrong. No, I don't feel that way. And then you go and you point it out, and not just point it out, but also to say, why are you going there? Why are you being so defensive right now versus what you know? So even though, many people feel like, oh, I got it figured out, I know how to use these tools, they don't implement them well. So therefore, it's very critical for you to take that time to figure out, what have I learned from this circumstance? But even more importantly, what am I going to do to prevent it from happening again? And that is when you now sit down with your partner to talk more in depth about what went on. And I know there are some of you right now who just heard that and say, no, I don't want to go back and discuss it again. Everything just got calmed down. The last thing I want to do is go bring that up. That's where the healing comes. When we put our fear aside and we still move forward and do the things we need to do. So again, sitting and saying, okay, what am I going to do? These are the steps I'm going to take in the future to ensure that I don't make that stupid decision again. So again, own it, okay? Determine why did the lapse of judgment come about, and what have you learned from it, and what will I be doing to prevent it from happening again? So that's topic number one that I want to talk about. Topic number two is talking with children. There's a lot of stuff that's out there about this. What do we do? Do we tell kids? Do we not tell kids? What is appropriate to tell kids? What is the right age to tell kids? And, and basically when it comes to that, when you're dealing with adult children, when we're talking about anybody who lives like 18 and older, then I strongly encourage that conversation. And the reason I do is for the betrayed, because it's bad enough that you're dealing with all of this pain that you're carrying around. But then when you have to get in front of family members, especially the kids, and you have to put on this facade that everything's wonderful, everything's good, it takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of effort to be able to do that. And it's extremely draining. I think it's important for those who are betrayed to be able to come out and talk to their kids about this, because what it does is shows them, look, you know what? I'm human, just like everyone else. And what this can be is a learning experience for our kids to understand that, even for people who, are good people, bad things can happen. More importantly, we can learn from those bad things, and we can change and adjust, and we can finish strong. And so I think that's a really important message that, for our kids to learn, or adult kids. So, for you folks who don't know how many of you read the original book I wrote, Removing Your Shame Label, and my story's in there. My kids knew when they were probably about 15 and 24, they found out what had gone on. And it was beneficial for them to see their dad in a different light, but also to see that, wow, look at this transformation that had been made in him, especially for my son, who never witnessed anything at all. So therefore, looking at the guy and saying, wow, you did this? That doesn't sound like you. Because that's not me. I'm different than I was. So I think there's a lot there. I think when it comes to younger children, again, I think it all depends. It's like, the same discussion that you have when you talk about, should I talk to my kids about sex or not? Or what age should I talk to my kids about? They're all different. And you have to look at the maturity level. You have to look about how sensitive they are, to different things and to make that determination. I don't think young children need to know. And I think even if young kids, if you do want to tell kids who are maybe 13, 15, because they're looking at all the chaos that's going around. I mean, it's just along the lines of, well, you know what's happening is daddy or mommy caused the other one a great deal of pain. I hurt them in a really bad way. And they're trying to deal with it, trying to cope with it, trying to work through it. Has nothing to do with you. So at least they understand, because sometimes kids, they all of a sudden, let's take, a mom who dealing with this, and let's say she's short-tempered because she's dealing with her, grieving, and then kids start to wonder, what did I do? What's wrong with me? So in some cases, it is, especially if kids are seeing it unfold in front of them, it's really important that you look to address that. But again, I think you need to do that in conjunction with a therapist who knows how to go about this, can walk you through the different steps, what are the appropriate questions. And even when we talk to adult children, we're not talking about details, we don't have to tell them anything about that. Just say, you know what, there was infidelity of some kind. We don't have to go there with that. And finally, the last topic I want to bring up today is the idea of, and you've heard me talk about this before in some of my previous webinars, is this idea of we're healing together. Carol Sheets, better known as Carol the Coach, and Jake Porter, are really leading the way in some of this stuff of trying to help people realize that, look, okay, you know what? Yes, you have your recovery, but yet there needs to be something that helps us to start to come back together and process that. And again, it has to be at the right frame, a right timeline for it. But, there are many people who have been betrayed who are looking at that approach and they're like, no, can't do this. I can't do this. And I understand, and what we're talking about here, let's be very, very clear. We're talking about those who have betrayed, who have demonstrated consistency in their recovery, have demonstrated consistency in their wanting to help their partner heal. This is the group we're talking about. Okay, so I know there's many questions that are in the queue right now, and I guarantee you 75% of them are about somebody who's not doing their work. I am not talking about that individual right now. We're talking about the person who, over a period of sustained time, 18 months, 2 years, whatever, has shown that they are transforming and changing. But the idea that, we're both in this together, we both have to maybe bend a little bit. And I'm not saying it's not 50-50 at all. It's probably more like 80-20, but just that 20% that the betrayed partner can give to show maybe some sense of grace that I appreciate the work you're doing. I understand. I didn't know. I do. This is a solo act. I don't, get involved with other people, okay, or dogs. The idea that, I can't help you. That's gonna hinder what has to happen. Could we go back to, and you guys have heard me say this before, what is the overall objective? Okay, the objective, and again, there's multiple pieces, but the overall objective is reconciliation, it is recovery, it is taking our relationship to a new place where we are firmly connected, perhaps for the first time. That can't happen with just the betrayer trying to make that process work. It doesn't work. And Terry and I, we've seen it numerous times over and over again. When those who are betrayed, again, they start to develop a sense of confidence that, all right, you know what, I'm going to take a chance. Because let's face it, that's what you're doing. You're taking a chance. You know, how many times I've had the question asked, well, how do I know? How do I know? How do I know for sure this is never going to happen again? And like, wow, you know what? My crystal ball broke years ago, so I can't really look and see any longer what that is. We don't know. You have to judge by, again, the actions that you see. But remember that while we're taking these actions, those stupid mistakes I talked about, going to happen. Why? Because we're human and we're going to do it. The key is going to be, how do they respond when they make those stupid mistakes? And if they're like, you know, you are absolutely right, you know, unforgivable, should have never thought of do it, or I should have thought differently. If you see that, if you see the remorse, if you see the idea of I want to learn and change, then you know that there's real change that is taking place. But I want you to think within your heart, again, if you've seen, you know, your partner making drives to move in the right direction, of what can you do to look within your heart, again, to see how can I maybe give some more grace, looking to ultimately reach the goal that we're trying to do. Because, you know, even in relationships where there's no infidelity, there are problems. All relationships have problems. And we need to work together to try to resolve those issues that we have. So anyway, Tammy, that's what I got for you today.
Great stuff. And I was like, yeah, there's sticking points in any relationship. So a couple of things. I was thinking when you're talking about the vacation, and I'll keep it brief because I know we've got lots of questions, but when you're talking about the vacation, planning the secret trip, I was like, what is the motivation for that? And I thought, oh, it's got to be, you know, like, is your partner even willing to go on a trip with you? So plan one together. But I thought it is really, you know, I don't want to get in trouble, but it's also, I'm not intentional. I'm not thinking things through, you know, so like living in recovery, we have to be far more aware than how we were in active addiction, when we are like, it's all about me, and nobody's going to know, you know. It always gets found out. I want to tag in on the telling children. So, because we are, you know, really clear about, no kids want to know about their parents' sex life. Yes, you wrote about it in a book. You told your children because it's going to be in a book. But look how far you were into your recovery journey. Unfortunately, we have people that like just have discovery and then are, you know, you don't know what your father did to me, or
Yeah.
I did. Yeah, exactly. So I wanted to bring up the timing, and there's absolutely, you know, we are struggling. It's our, you know, mom and dad are struggling. We have some issues to work on. We are committed to working on them. It is not you. So the feelings that you're feeling, that undercurrent is absolutely there, but it's not about you. We love you, and we've got, you know, adult work to do. And, you know, so I think that messaging is really important, but it's also the timing, you know, of like where you are on the journey.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because that is a very, very important point. We've seen those who, once they discover what is happening, and again, it is their trauma, it is the impulsiveness that happened, where they just run out and they start sharing this information with everyone, including kids and such, and that ultimately winds up causing more harm than good. They're just looking to be able to vent and to share, because they feel like they're just going to explode if they don't. But you are absolutely right. There needs to be the right time.
Yeah, and the hurt. I mean, I understand they're wounded and they want to, on some level, possibly retaliate. And again, I understand all of these aspects. And sometimes they perceive that the children will take their sides, and sometimes it happens, but it also sometimes they go, well, it doesn't help, and then the kids are traumatized, and
Yeah.
so if you're here, thank you, and like take a breath and get support. But your kids deserve to know that there's stuff going on and that you're aware of it and that they're aware of it. But yeah. And then I was thinking too with the last one, I was like, it's also timing. It's like exactly what you talked about is, yes, I get too many guys that like, I'm 2 weeks into this and I'm 2 weeks into recovery, and how can I help her? And I'm like, do your work, do
Right.
your work, start showing up differently, and then so all of this is a timing. And as addicts, we want to hurry up and get through the yucky bad part and get onto the really good part where my spouse forgives me and all of this kind of stuff. And partners, they want, I get it too, they want to not feel the hurt. But it, like, this is a process, and so some of it is just, I'm sorry, hang in there. It takes some time. So okay, so
Question.
Eddie, would your growth and thriving look like, what would growth and thriving look like for a betrayed partner with a sex addict husband who isn't doing recovery? What would it look like to be thriving? So that it validates that you are doing well? That's a great question.
That's a wonderful question, and I'm glad you asked, and I hope that others who are dealing with this situation will take note of this too. First and foremost, again, if you're thriving, you're not trying to fix him or her. That is not where your emphasis is. Your emphasis is on healing yourself. Do you have the proper boundaries in place with that individual? That means you're thriving. Are you not just, if the boundary gets broken though, are you putting in the consequences? That means you're thriving. Are you looking to, again, be in the strong support recovery groups, working with a therapist? So again, you understand that what's going on here is not about you, it's about their dysfunction and what's happening. Then you're thriving. If you are still making the time to be able to step out and do some of the good things, the healthy things that you need in your life, you don't stop living, then you are thriving. So I don't know, Tammy, you got anything else to add to that?
Well, the only thing is, and I love it when betrayed partners, when the addiction isn't the focus of their life either. I think then you're thriving, regardless of what happens with the addict.
Right.
You like you said, you have this life, and it can give you a little speed bump or something, but it isn't like, oh my gosh, here we, lots of people choose to stay in the relationship for a variety of reasons, but this person's acting out their addiction. As long as you've got healthy boundaries, you can love the person with their brokenness, but it doesn't have to rock your world every single time. So
That's right. And that's a very key point, not allowing them to rock your world. And again, that doesn't mean that you won't be in pain, you won't hurt by
right.
them still acting out, but still, it's like, you know what? It is not going to take me back to the depth that I was. So just stay strong, stay focused, focus on you. If you have your kids, and just keep moving forward.
So the next one goes back to the stupid decisions. I made the stupid decision to look at destinations, local motels. My husband saw prostitutes on Google Maps. Lo and behold, there's my husband's truck and a pic on the parking lot from 2018. Forever there. I was simply curious of the place, never expected to see his truck. How do I overcome this? The triggers are endless. In the same week, a prostitute was looking for him on Facebook. It just never seems to end. He seems to be doing well in recovery, but triggers keep coming up for me. I cannot get over this. Any advice?
Yes, again, no, so one, I'm glad that he seemed to be doing good in his recovery. That's strong, but it seems that you're not doing as well in your recovery. So I guess it becomes a question of, do you have a therapist who specializes in betrayal trauma who can walk you through those triggers, so that can see what's happening is you getting a trigger and it's almost like, boom, you're back looking at that parking lot picture again. Like you haven't moved at all away from it to desensitize it. And that's part of what needs to happen. And the other thing is being in a support group, and for many that are offered here, that also can help you along with that. But you really need the, betrayal trauma specialist who's going to be able to help you learn to emotionally regulate when that trigger comes up. Because right now you're not emotionally regulating and it's taking over for you. And it almost feels, like I said, like the first time you saw that picture. There are ways and techniques that can be used to help you so that it's desensitized and it doesn't overwhelm you.
And I'm going to affirm you can't get over this, but you can get through this. So,
Right.
it's a process. And like Eddie shared earlier, it's, it'll still come up. It just won't come up as as emotionally devastating. And I'm also wondering about timing because, like where you are in the process, if you had discovery, and it was 6 months ago, well, of course you're still in the throes of things. But it's also part of why I hate when partners have when they find things because you get too many of the gory details. Like a formal therapeutic disclosure, you're going to get a different level of things, but that's a whole process. So that stuff does get stuck. But like Eddie said, there are processes that support from a qualified professional can help you navigate that. So if you need names, email me, Tammy, TAMI at Seeking Integrity, but include where you're located so I can help you find something.
Right. It's interesting there because in that circumstance, okay, one, she knew that he had been acting out. When she sees the picture, she's actually put there where it is. She's now actually part of that complexity, which again, her brain, like, I can't handle this. I can't
Yeah.
handle being that close to it. And that's why I say now, and I don't know what the case is with Robin, but I know one thing with women who have been betrayed, or even men who have been betrayed, it's the idea like of, you know what, no, why do I need to go to a therapist? I'm not the one. I didn't do anything wrong. Why do I need to go and spend time talking to someone about this? Because you have been impacted by it. Okay, you've been impacted. No, you did not do anything that caused you to need to go there, but you do need to go in order to get healed.
Yeah, it's from a support standpoint where an addict, it's cognitive behavioral therapy, it's accountability, it's, unpacking the lies, all of those things. So very different experience, but, like EMDR, on that particular image is it's a trauma type
Yeah.
of therapy that could be helpful. I don't know what will be helpful, but it's support. It's not about, oh, there's something wrong with you, so you need to no, there's like, this has happened to you, and getting support through it is really
Right.
meaningful.
One thing that therapist may do is say, hey, you know what? Go find that image again, bring it in here. And we're going to sit and we're going to do like exposure therapy. We're going to look at it. Say, you know what it is? It's an image. This doesn't change what he did. He had done it before. All it is now it brings it more to life to you. And then being able to sit there and go through that, that'll help you as you get more and more exposed to it to say, you know what? You're right. You're right. This doesn't change anything. It's still the same. He did this. And so therefore, for me, it's a sense of acceptance. Okay, I accept that's what happened. But I'm also very glad that he looks like he's making substantial changes. So
Okay, so happy birthday to both of us. When sharing when I struggle, my husband responds with how my feelings trigger him, and I'm left feeling unheard, unseen, unsupported, and abandoned as now I'm being asked to acknowledge and validate him. Oh my. I added that. What are the best ways to respond when this happens? I want connection, but feel exasperated by his inability to hold space for me. He says he's trying. I hate that word, and wants to believe he's capable of it, but I don't see it or feel it. We've both been in individual recovery for a year. So this adds 17 years together, 10 plus discoveries, latest 15 months ago, rehab last October, each working with CSATs and 12 step.
yeah. Okay. So I'm going to start off by maybe giving him the benefit of a doubt that he is perhaps trying. But the problem he has is, again, and this probably goes back to childhood issues. This is his inner child running amok, that he's feeling ashamed, he's feeling criticized, so he's probably going back to a lot of things that he once felt. I get it. Those are what he needs to be working on in his therapy. Been working on it for a year. He's been in his therapy. Part of therapy is also supposed to be, how do I remain confident and not shameful when my partner is triggered? How can I be there and not feel unheard, unseen, unsupported, abandoned? Because it is not your place to be sitting there and validating him. He is supposed to be validating you. So I would be saying to him, I know, and so what's the best way to handle it? One, the next time it happens, is not to get into his face about it, but just to say, you know what? Once again, you've just demonstrated that what I'm going through, it doesn't seem to be very important to you, and I'm very disappointed, and walk away. And just walk away. My hope is that he gets somewhat crushed by that becomes more, because now that's not criticism, anything like that. That is you talking about your feelings and your real emotions. And I wonder if that helps him. If that's still a struggle, the other thing I would say to him is, look, you know what? I want to have a joint session with your therapist, because I want your therapist to know the issues that we're having here, and that I have to keep lifting you up when I'm the one who is struggling here. So, and I think then, therefore, if the therapist understands it, knows it, but maybe the therapist doesn't know. But therefore, then it's like, okay, so what are you going to do to help him here? And if that therapist doesn't have an answer to that, then we got to go find somebody else who can help.
Yeah, I was thinking along the same lines. I love the, state your reality and walk away. And then I was thinking couples therapy. So either go to his therapist, or the two of you with both of your therapists, to help navigate that. But yeah, it effectively, shuts you down and makes you have to, oh, I'm so sorry. So I
You know
love
what else? We're
nope.
both working with CSACs. You know what? Sign a consent form and have those CSAC talk. Let your therapist talk to his therapist to say, hey, we have a problem here. This is what's going
Yeah.
on. So that way they can get involved.
Okay. Another question, is it okay for me to ask my SA husband's intrusive thoughts are regularly about the same person or someone he's going to be in regular contact proximity with? What about if these thoughts are during sex with me? Just keep going.
Okay, look, can you read that one more time so I can grasp?
So yeah,
Yeah.
so this is a partner saying, is it okay for me to ask if my sex addiction husband's intrusive thoughts are regularly about the same person or about someone he's going to be in regular contact or proximity with? And then this person is also asking, what if these thoughts are happening while he's having sex with her?
Well, one, yes, I mean, for you to ask about intrusive thoughts, you can ask, but we have to remember that intrusive thoughts are just what those are. Intrusive thought. I don't want to bring them into my head. I don't sit there and conquer them up. What I do instead is, when they do come in, I have no control over that, but I do have control of what I do with them. I think that's more important. So if he's talking to you and telling you, oh, I'm having intrusive thoughts about people, I think the conversation you want to have is, well, what are you doing with those intrusive thoughts? Because again, what is that about? That's about anxiety. It's all anxiety. That's where we get them from. And so therefore, him working on his anxiousness and hopefully doing that with his therapist to be able to reduce those intrusive thoughts from happening. And that is something that can be done.
Yeah, and like the previous question where like the picture is now an intrusive thought with a partner, my concern is if you find out details, is that going to now be an intrusive thought for you? So
Absolutely.
it's one of those things it's challenging because partners go, I want to know, I want to know, I want to know, but then you can't unknow it, So I love what you said. What is he doing? What is this action around it is really more important.
And I think the other part of that question, though, what excuse me, what if these thoughts are happening during sex with me? I assume then he would be telling you that he's having these thoughts, and like, no, I don't think I'm not gonna keep going at that point. Instead, I want to sit with him, find out, okay, what is your anxiety about? Why do you think this is happening? But again, talking about the anxiety, not the thought itself, so that you do that. But I know I don't
Yes.
think you want to just keep going, because again, for you now, your anxiety is through the roof because you're sitting here wondering, okay, if he's having sex with somebody else in his head instead of me, and that's not fair to you, and that's not going to help you in your recovery.
Okay. What is a good thing to say to a spouse who thinks it's okay to say to me, I don't agree with your needs? He says, your needs don't make sense to me. Can you give me a short, concise response when faced with this? That, as my husband says, in response to my voice is when I voice my needs.
When you voice your needs, so what he's saying is, I don't agree with your needs, and saying your needs don't make sense to me. Then I think what you need to be doing is sitting and talking with him to say, let me see if I can explain better to you what my needs are, so that I get to a point where, okay, it makes sense. And I don't know, maybe with him, it still won't make sense. That he'll look at that and say, no, that, you know what, you're looking for that from me, and I can't deliver it for you. It happens. It happens in relationships. I can't provide that for you. But I think where you want to start is having a very civil conversation where you're talking about saying, okay, tell me explain to me what it is that you see about my need that you don't agree about. Okay. And he may say that it's just something that's impossible for me to do, or it seems to be that causing me great anxiety to try to do it. Then after you sit and we iron that out, then to find out, okay, let me see if I can help you better understand why this is so important. And if I don't have it, what it will mean to me and what it will mean ultimately to our relationship. I would try there first to see if you could have that. And if you can't do that together because you still continue to butt head, then I'd sit down in front of a third party and try to work through it and come up with a solution.
I've got two thoughts on this one. I was thinking I would absolutely talk to your qualified professional to go through and I would clarify wants and needs, because sometimes they get a little muddled, and I'm not saying that yours are, but I would just make sure that and then I like, what is your healthy boundary? If this is your need, it's a need, not a want. So if this is a need and your partner is unable to meet that, then sometimes it can be with a friend. I'm not talking about sexual things, but let's say it's a safety need. It's for my financial safety, and he's not willing to share the bank account information or have transparency on that. Well, then what is your healthy boundary about what you need to do to take care of you? That so it's like, if you can't meet my need, then and it's for your safety. But needs are very different than not necessary. Needs and wants are different. Like, I'm clear, like I want lots of things, but these are my needs. So making sure that I've got clarity about what it is and isn't a need is could be helpful too. Okay. Such a great topic. If only my essay husband would be willing to listen to it. He says he already knows everything he needs to, but he does all addictive behaviors, but says I should be believing him by now. He's 43 days sober. Oh, honey, I'm sorry. Yeah. Oh my God. That's like, so I'm sorry.
I really don't have anything to add to this, because again, a guy or even a woman who's betrayed, who says, oh, I know everything that I need to know about addictive behavior. I don't know everything about
Right.
behaviors. Okay. And I've been, recovering for over almost 25 years. I still learn things. And the fact that he doesn't have that hunger and that desire to continue to grow, it's like he's static. Hey, I've done what I need to do. I'm done. You know what? Just believe me and let's move on. And you're right. I think what Tammy said is that, our heart goes out to you. It's a tough situation.
So I'm going to go back to what I just said about healthy boundaries. What do you need to have healthy boundaries for your physical, emotional, financial, and spiritual self? And I would be really clear on that. We've got drop-in groups on sexandrelationshiphealing.com. We've got a betrayed partner work group. They've met once, but there is still room. Email me, Tammy, Tami at Seeking Integrity if you want more information about that. But you getting support to set healthy boundaries for you would be critically important. Like the first 2 years of being sober is still like, it's like you are like at about 2 years, I kind of go, wow, now you're starting to come into recovery and things. So this is somebody who, take care of you. Okay. We are unable to meet by Zoom with our couple sponsors for most of October. My spouse and I are currently able to meet with them. I was surprised to see a copy of an email sent to our couple sponsor saying we are ready to meet again. And it was provided the dates and times we were supposed to be available. This really triggered me because it was a very self-centered decision. I felt left out of this decision to resume couples therapy. I am very disappointed and angry. I feel devastated because our 24 years of marriage and recent 2 weeks at a recovery center, and with more than a year of couples counseling, he is still not honest, transparent, and uncommunicative. What can I do? What kind of therapist should we be considering when in Toronto? I would love my spouse to get help from you. So yeah, do you do recovery weeks by Zoom? Yeah, I mean, so
yes,
yeah.
I do all of that. However, I am not taking new clients. I just don't have the bandwidth to do that. And I'm more concerned about you right now than I am with him there. Like,
Or the couples, yeah.
right, because it looks like we've done a year of couples therapy, but what have you done on your own to go back to point that Tammy's been raising in this webinar throughout it? It's like your boundaries, okay? Because like you said he's still not, being honest and transparent. He's not communicating with you, so he's still stuck in those addictive behaviors, even if he again maybe sober, but he is not exhibiting any changes of saying, I am transforming to be the new guy. So I think for you, what you're looking for is someone again who specializes in, betrayal trauma. And Tammy, hopefully, maybe you can help her.
I do. Yeah. Email me.
Yeah.
And I, specifically because there's a couple names that came to mind in Ontario, so I can help you with that.
Yeah,
So.
you know what? Take your mind off of him and his recovery at this moment and put the emphasis and focus on you. And then go back to that. But right now, you need to get grounded. You need to put ground rules in place so that you can start to feel more safe. And as far as that couples counselor, yeah, I mean, that is not the way they should have approached it. However, I don't know if you found them to be somewhat helpful, I would not write them off. But what I would do is maybe get on a call with them and express to them what your disappointment is with them. I think that's a growth experience for you to be able to say, hey guys, you just come and tell me what I need to do at this point. And for someone who's suffering in the way I am, this was very triggering. So that may be something you want to consider also.
Well, and it says couple sponsors, and that's different than to me than couples therapists or couples, therapy. Yeah. So yeah. Oh goodness, my phone is ringing like crazy today. Oh, for Pete's sakes, I told you no. Okay. So answer live. Okay, the next one. The unfaithful and abusive walked out of my life several times, but he hovered back, he hoovered, vacuumed me back in. After the last time I could not do it anymore. I was so traumatized by then. But in this time, he confessed to me that he never thought he would stay with me for so long. That means it was just a game from day one, and I am working on the relationship, and he just fooled and used me. These words haunt me occasionally. What can I do about it? I feel double betrayed.
Oh, again, what he said was that he never thought that he would be able to stay with you for so long. That doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. I mean, what he's talking about perhaps is himself and what he struggled to be able to deal with in a relationship, perhaps in any type of relationship. So again, if those words are haunting you, and you're feeling, like you said, double betrayed, I would be sitting down with a counselor to walk through those to help desensitize them, but to let you see that the way you are looking at them, which my guess is, oh, he's telling me, you know what, I don't know how I stayed with you so long. You are a train wreck, may not be what he was ultimately trying to say or communicate. And even if it was, doesn't mean that that defines you and who you are. And it's more about him than it is you. So again, I would be looking to see if you could help someone, get someone to help you sort through that pain.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, addicts are so good at pushing away and going, oh yeah, like I wasn't really into this anyway. So that's a defense mechanism. This is to me so not about you. I have
Right.
learned something about myself that was invaluable in every relationship, whether it's a significant other relationship, family or friends. And so, I take what I learn and go, how can I apply this, and do something that is, maybe better for me in the next time. I don't know. Grieve the loss. But this to me is so about him, and his manipulation and things. Uh, I hope you don't own that he fooled you, that you love somebody, that you cared about somebody who has a lot of brokenness and manipulation and all of that. So, but get support.
Yeah, that's why I said, do not let it define you.
Yes. My SAPA partner started seeing a CSAT a couple months ago. He supposedly has been sober 2 or 3 weeks. I walked down to him relapsing about an hour ago. Oh, I'm sorry. An hour ago, his CSAT has said to me that she is going to focus more on the cause than the behavior. I'm concerned that bringing up trauma without a support system is going to be trouble. That's exactly what we talk about all the time with treatment. It's like, you got to stop the problematic behavior, because if you start going to all of this is, you know,
Yeah.
and Dr. Rob talks about it all the time. If what you're doing isn't enough, and if all he's doing is seeing a CSAT, even if the CSAT is the most fantastic CSAT on the planet, 50 minutes once a week for, to address decades old, behavior is not going to be enough. So
Right.
we
That's
have
what
a
we need.
wonderful treatment program.
Yeah, we need the recovery plan. What's the recovery plan here? First and foremost, what are the things that are involved that go beyond just seeing that counselor, that are set up in place, including the support system and group that Tammy's talking about that are offered here? Because if you don't stabilize that, and I'm going under the surface, and that's what I do. I do the inner child stuff. If I start going under the surface before I've stabilized what's happening, all I'm doing is I'm just going to cause a lot more anxiety in that individual, and we're going to have a lot more acting out. So therefore, the first thing always becomes, all right, here's our recovery plan. These are the elements that you are going to be adhering to and living by, which could include accountability software, as part of it. Who is your sponsor? Who are your accountability people? What is your circle look like? Okay, what are the activities that you have to stay away from? And you go on and on and on, because again, if it is just, oh yeah, I go, 50 minutes a week to see somebody, no, that's not going to be it. You have to ground the behavior first, get that under control, and then you start digging.
So we have a work group for sex addiction 101 level 1 starting November 7th. Many therapists recommend that their clients go to that. It's the psychoeducation, it's foundational components. It's not in place of treatment, it is not in place of counseling. It is a component. What is he doing on a daily basis for his recovery? That would be, important to know. So, and there are lots of CSATs I recommend. There are lots of CSATs I don't. So, getting the letters doesn't mean that I've always said, the training can make a good therapist great in this particular area. But, if somebody doesn't have, if they want to go to family of origin and all of that kind of stuff right off the bat and to go to the trauma, it's going to be relapse. And it's not even relapse. This is just going to be acting out because he is barely in the, starting the process. So he's got a ways to go before
Well, yeah,
he's,
so I think it's like,
able to
let
relapse.
us reset. Let us reset.
Mhm.
You tell them we need the full, recovery plan. And if his CSAT can't provide that, we find someone who can.
Okay. And what I'm going to do, because we're going to run out of time, but I'm going to screenshot these and I'm going to hold them for next week. We'll start with them or next month.
I feel like we haven't made a dent in them.
I know, but so thank you for all your great questions, but
Yeah,
I'm
so
going to capture them. So.
Next time we're going to do a question only. Okay, we do that.
Yes, I think that's a perfect idea. Yes, we'll do that. Okay, so the other woman contacted my adult daughter at college before I even knew, or my husband could tell me. She has been in therapy, but seems to brush it under the rug. And she had, that's why I worry about my daughter pretending like nothing happened. Her dad was her hero and often played off of me. I worry.
Yeah, again, I'm glad that she's in therapy. She may not want to talk about it right now. You still offer to do so. He should still offer to do so. You say, we're here anytime you want to go through this. And you don't push too hard, but to let her know the door is open and she can walk in anytime to start to find out more information if she needs it. So yeah, it's very sad that happened. Very sad.
Yes. And it's a, unfortunate, I mean, blackmailing. I mean, I hear all of these, all of these problematic things. So your husband, her dad, your daughter's dad got involved with somebody who, it clearly doesn't care about, how she hurts anybody else. I'm sorry for her, but
she was just causing more wound. That's all. She's being disgruntled.
Yeah.
There's a quick question here. Would you consider starting a group for partners on post-traumatic growth? What do you have in the way of, do you have a
we have the betrayed partner work groups level 1 and level 2, and it's all from codependence lens. So on the Seeking Integrity site, there's information about that. And we've got a number of betrayed partner drop-in groups that are free on sexandrelationshiphealing.com. So there's a lot. I'm always open to, adding more. We've got some new work groups starting again, like the healthy intimacy, which they have to start with intimacy before they can get to healthy sexuality. That was intentional because everybody goes, yeah, I need to figure out how to do the sex part. No, you need the intimacy and then you can get to the sex part. So, so it's one of those where, you can always reach out to me. Obviously with anything that we create, there has to be, people participating, but there also has to be somebody to facilitate, lead it. So.
I think the other thing, first and foremost, I think, Tammy, you're right. She should look at the betrayal groups first and see if there's something there. But also you have to remember, group alone is not going to be enough to be talking about dealing with the trauma. All right. You really do need that one-on-one to help you again with the because think about a lot what happened with trauma is that our thought processes and the way we see things and recognize things aren't always accurate. They're not always accurate. And so therefore we need to be able to look at that's why you hear people all the time, I don't know if real or not. And that's why you need somebody who can be able to walk you through that to help you.
Yes. So thank you all. Like I said, I'm going to take a couple quick pictures of all the questions so I can make sure I save them for next month. We will start with these and then we will go to the new questions that I'm sure you guys will ask. So please keep coming back. We will do all of that. This will be posted for those of you that said, I wish my partner would listen to that. You can have it running in the background, if there's not kids around. So it will be posted later today. So Eddie, as always, thank you.
You're welcome. And
Appreciate it.
thank you too. Appreciate it. I'll see you folks in November.
Sounds good. Bye.
Bye.